Maximizing their great potential. And because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time, now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me, I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest
How about being a black man?
Being black. Hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there, and maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. When you no, and yes, Shannon, I know y'all are gonna say and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we got to. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
A., I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
All right, let's.
You're my guy, but I'm talking to you.
I got it.
Guys, I really appreciate
you're my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take. You missed a lot.
Stephen A., 3 years ago, you would not talk about the W at this level. Don't do that.
Guys.
Nobody was, Monica. You making Stephen A.'s point, Monica. Monica, you making Stephen A.'s point.
Please let me do my job. Please let me do my job. We've gone for 40 minutes straight. It was a riveting discussion. I have to get into commercial break.
I had mine. Stephen A. had his. And so Monica says a topic like this deserves a more nuanced conversation. That we don't have to worry about getting into a break. So if Monica needs to talk 15 minutes straight, we can allow Monica to do that. Monica, the topic came up basically is Caitlin Clark. Is the NBA or some of the players in the WNBA have a personal vendetta? Are they envious? Are they jealous? Are they is there resentment? I think the term resentment showed his head up into the conversation. So I want to turn the floor over to you. What point do you want to reiterate? What point didn't get an opportunity to make that you would like to make now? The floor is yours.
Well, so I'm going to take y'all. Two things happened to me. I actually went to the Liberty game on Friday, and this episode sort of speaks to the growth of the game. My fiance and I, we just take the train home because it's easiest. We're in New York. And there are a couple of white boys. One of them went to Auburn. His brother went to University of Missouri. His girlfriend was with them, another young white man, and they're probably in their late 20s. One of them might have been in their early 20s. And it was a black woman that clearly just left the Liberty game that sat across from them. And they just spark up, y'all, this spontaneous conversation about women's basketball. And yes, it was about this particular play, and it was a little bit about the Sky and Angel, and it was Caitlin, and it was about the Liberty. And I'm looking at my fiance like, this is crazy. Like, we're just on a train, and folks that you might not think are watching the WNBA hop into this conversation, and they're both engaging. They started talking about Auburn and the Tuskegee, and I was peak ear hustling for the record, but they was loud, so it's funny. But I say that to say, Ocho and Shannon, I get that we are at a special place when it comes to women's basketball and the growth of the game and all of the eyeballs. I think what I was frustrated by in our conversation earlier is that we can hold more than one truth, y'all.
Yes.
Like, the idea of some players being jealous, yes, that probably exists. But I think in Caitlin's debut, since she has made her debut, there's been a large and loud clamor or push, yes, that is Caitlin versus the W. Okay. And that is unfair. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros? Right?
Yeah.
I just need us all to do a better job of holding room for multiple truth. Jordan as a rookie, Joe, right? LeBron as a rookie, like Wemby as a rookie. When you look at guys that have gone on to be great, I'm sure they would not say their rookie years were cakewalks. Now, in the case of LeBron, and if we use Wemby this year, they have physically dominant and powerful statures. And so maybe that has allowed them to skirt some of the curve. But Kaylin is the guard coming from college. She got to get her weight up. The W has to continue to allow her to be one of the leaders of this platform, as Angel Reese has also been, because I know that's going to be a hot topic tomorrow. And so my whole thing is just, it doesn't have to be either or. It can be both. But the prevailing idea that it's the W versus Caitlyn and that these women don't understand the power of the eyeballs and the audience that she's helped grow the league to, that's just unfair. And that's what bothers me.
Welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. And I guess we start there because we got a lot to talk about this morning. I tell you what, Greer and I, we're in Washington, D.C., of course, the nation's capital. And y'all know what happened here on January 6, 2021. And last night was such a reminder of what happened. I sat there. I got to tell you, if we had to do the show right at that moment, you probably would have saw another side of me. Just watching that film last night about January 6th, and you all must see it. It pissed me off, and I'm gonna say this the same way that Robin Harris, the late great Robin Harris, once said. It pissed me off to the highest of festivity, and I'm gonna tell you why in a moment. But what else pissed me off yesterday is this: what we just saw. I have two irreplaceable, beautiful sisters who I love dearly. I have a mother who has been a mother, a father, and everything else. I was blessed to have two grandmothers. Why is it that we can't give Black women their due? Why is it that Stephen A. Smith, Mr. MAGA supporter himself, why can't he give Monica McNutt, who has earned her way, her due? I love when she did the whole, and I've seen it in my sister's faces, I've seen it in my mother's face, that whole, don't do that. I love when she did that. He didn't make Monica McNutt. I love Michael Harriet from the Griot, who tweeted out, because Stephen A., of course, the egotistical maniac that he is, wanted everybody to believe that. He goes on his platform afterwards to say that no one heard of Monica McNutt, the one who led her school in 2011 in points scored and rebounds, assists, who went on to become a star herself, who is a star broadcaster. Stephen A. didn't do that. He didn't make her career. Monica McNutt, just like most Black women, they have to find a way or make a way themselves. Stephen A. Smith is a travesty. And Monica, while she didn't necessarily back down later, she gave him even more space, as they say today, more grace. Right? And yet, this dude cannot take the high road. Cannot take the high road. He's naming these other women he allegedly made their careers. No, He did not talk about the WNBA on First Take. Monica didn't miss no episodes. No. What she did not miss, too, was taking a good shot at that ego, that overinflated ego. I mean, I love strong, proud, stand on your business black men, but this wasn't it. This was a black man trying to put a black woman in her place. Once again, I got sisters. I got beautiful daughters. Everybody say their children are the most beautiful in the world. Mine are. Got a wife, beautiful, gorgeous. Black women, granddaughters, black women. It's high time that, as Malcolm X said, black women are the most disrespected. We know that. But it's high time black men help change the narrative on that and stop doing what a Stephen A. Smith has no problem doing. We wanted to talk about that a little later, but since Greer started with that, that's where we are. That's where we are. It is infuriating to see this concept. I had a conversation, an online conversation yesterday with a colleague who you all know who that person is. I'm not even going to name that person. Lives in Houston. Works in Houston. Another topic we plan to talk about a little later, the whole Eminem thing. This black woman defended to the T Eminem. Despite, I don't care what you think of Megan, I'm not a Megan Thee Stallion fan. I don't listen to Megan Thee Stallion. But all I do know is that she's a very successful black woman who went through a very, very traumatic experience. And this is to show you 50 years of hip hop. This is to show you how there aren't that many strong black men, and even in hip hop, to allow Eminem to sit on the sidelines, and in LeBron James's case, cheer it on as he takes a swipe, an unnecessary diss of Megan Thee Stallion, talking about her being shot in the feet. As if that woman, and she talked about the mental health, the self-esteem issues, and everything else that she was having and that she had since, and how the world, she was the victim and how they made her the perpetrator. And I got to hear that a black female journalist is defending Eminem. No, that dude, the master of cultural appropriation, who has always gotten away with it, because, and his biggest guy, his biggest supporter, Dr. Dre, I'm calling on you, the guy who brought him into the game, is a black woman abuser himself. Never held accountable. D. Barnes sitting still out there. Nobody has really reached out to D. Barnes and repaired her damage. What Dr. Dre did to her in front of and other Negroes sitting there watching him beat the heck out of D. Barnes. And then they make fun of it. The disrespect for black women doesn't happen on Let It Be Known. Doesn't happen with the Black Press of America. Not on my watch. And yes, Power 96, Stephen A. Smith thinks he is the gatekeeper for black sports journalists. It's time for black male journalists to put him in his place. We can't have that. You know, Dr. Chavis is the president and CEO. But I'm going to tell you something. Dr. Chavis will not disagree. It's a black woman who really has been the glue that's kept this organization going, at least all the years I've been here. And it's not to take anything away from Dr. Chavis. He's done more than what this board that we have, the board of directors, could ever have hoped for, could ever have dreamed of for the Black press of America. But I'm here to tell you that his executive administrator, a gorgeous Black woman at that, has been the one that's made this engine go. I've been here 10 years, 11 years, almost. I've seen it. We can't advance. We have never been able to advance as Black people without Black women. It has never happened. It will never happen. It's time to cut the nonsense. And I agree. Eminem is a big culture. He's more of a culture vulture than Elvis, yes. At least Elvis, if you knew Elvis's story, at least he understood the assignment. He gave those who came before him, who he took from, the credit. I've seen Elvis's interviews where he implored the press. I'm not the king, he would say. The real kings are the BB kings of the world, he said. This is Elvis's words. But that Stephen A. Smith stuff really pissed me off. And so was that movie last night. Arie and I went and was invited. Erica Lowe, the Office of Public Engagement Director at the White House. It's called The Sixth. It's available online. It's available to rent. It should be Biden-Harris's campaign video. They should play it everywhere as often as possible. Because we live in a society that forgets quickly. It's ready to move on. A media landscape that today, for 5 minutes, this is hot news, and the next minute, there is something else. For this, it's called The Sixth. There is nothing else. If you haven't seen it, it's available for rent online. And I got to tell you, we sat, and I think maybe we should have done a show while it was going on, because Arie and I sat together and we was giving commentary with each other the whole time. It weaves together a very compelling narrative of what, this is what the filmmakers, the Fines, said as to what the hell happened right here in our backyard. By relying on the first-hand account of 6 eyewitnesses, those who were there, like Erica Lowe, like Representative Jamie Raskin, like that dude you see in the middle who absolutely stole the movie, who absolutely commanded that documentary. He was in the throes of it all, taking pictures, photographing this unfortunate historic moment. Chief Conti, the DC police. You have to see this because I mentioned Jamie Raskin. He had just buried his 25-year-old son the day before. His daughters went to work with him on January 6th in the Capitol. Mel Cole, that photographer there, navigated this crowd of angry, disgusting, murderous Trump supporters. I tell you, one of my favorite scriptures says the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. 1 John 5:19. I'm not here to preach, but I got to tell you, you saw it on that day. You saw it if you had any doubt. Officer Christina Laurie also played a role in this. But I got to go back to Conti, the MPD police. It was unbelievable. So I was in I was in New York for 9/11. I was covering something else at the time, and we all remember 9/11. We all remember 9/11. This was 9/11 all over again, but this was inside at the U.S. Capitol. And yes, a black man took those pictures, folks. He risked everything. He talked about chances to leave, perhaps. He was like, no, there was not a person there, not a cop. Erica Lowe, who was working for Jim Clyburn, Representative Jim Clyburn's staff, his staff. We saw footage of them inside, locked, barricaded in the office. We saw the National Guard, which understand this. The National Guard was under the direction of none other at the time, who was still president, Donald Trump. The National Guard, even the police chief, DeConti from DC, said, I can't understand this. They were not coming to help these cops. One of the cops, he just knew he was going to die. He's in the film. He talks about it. How they showed how, okay, they was trying to hold the line against these radical Trump supporters, how Trump urged them to do this. They even show clips of Trump speaking, urging him on. We're going to go down Pennsylvania Avenue, is what the MAGA leader said. We're going to take our country back. They show how, while they tried to hold the line on one side of the Capitol, on the south side of the Capitol, they had breached. And there was one officer who got pulled into the crowd. And you hear them grab his gun. And one officer, they tell him about his helmet. That belongs to me. 5. This is this MAGA folks, the party of law and order, the party of Blue Lives Matter. 5 law enforcement officers died as a result. And I got to tell you the truth. I sat there and we know what happened. The whole time I kept saying, and I was saying it out loud, blow their heads off. You just kept, when you watch this, if you have a modicum of humanity in you, you too would be thinking the same thing, I'm sure, for the most part. Blow their heads off. Just come in with a helicopter like you see in the movies, a Black Hawk, and open up on these murderous, treacherous, disgusting white supremacists. It was heartbreaking. You see Erica Lowe with tears streaming down her face. You see Jamie Raskin holding back his emotions. You see these cops. And one of the things that our photographer friend there that took these pictures that was in the film, and he said during that time he thought about it. He said, these are the people. He couldn't stand cops. They killed George Floyd, he said. He's talking about this. But on this day, his heart was breaking for these cops. They are begging for backup, begging for help. And you got this guy who is the front runner now today in 2024 to be the president of the United States, who was convicted 34 times on 34 felonies in New York last week. And you guys, folks, listen, I will never get involved to the point where I'm telling you how to vote, who to vote for, to vote. That's not my bag at all. But how do you want this dude to be your president, to be your leader, to be to have the keys, the code to the nuclear bomb? This is a guy with 34 felony convictions, and rightfully probably should have and will have, if they ever go to trial, about 50 more felony convictions. You get a felony conviction, folks, you can't even get a job at the corner store with a felony conviction. This guy's going to run the country. He's going to get the biggest job in the world. He's got 34 felonies, and he stood by and watched 5 cops lose their lives ultimately on January 6th. One of his supporters, a woman, and I'm going to say this, deservedly so, there was a shot fired inside the Capitol, took her out. It was not clear who fired the shot. But at that moment, they were this close to the representatives. And you know they were looking for Nancy Pelosi to hang her. They was looking for Mike Pence to hang him. You shouldn't have been there in the first place. More of them should have been shot. And we don't even want to go into this whole, because we know if that was Black Lives Matter protesters, the conversation will be very different today. There would have been mass graves. They would have been dumping their bodies. But to watch the President of the United States of America, to watch this dude sit by, the president-elect, Joe Biden, had to go on television and call for peace, call for these people to leave the Capitol. But their leader, their Jim Jones, who gave them that great Kool-Aid, because make no mistake, the worst Kool-Aid there is the great one, sat by and watched the devastation, the destruction, the near deaths of his vice president, man who supported him through thick and thin, the House Speaker, who, because you don't like her politics, she should die. You later, long after January 6th, your goons go into her home and beat her husband with a hammer, and you make fun of it. You got to be kidding me that this guy, you guys are picking this guy to lead. This guy who says, I am going to be a dictator on day one. And black folks kill me. I don't even want to get into that disgusting filth that they call Sexy Red. Her whole concert set with MAGA inspired. It's unbelievable. We're supposed to bring you news and information. I'm bringing you some frustration right now because the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. And we're seeing it more and more each and every single moment of every day. Everybody says the same thing. What in the world? This people say this world is really messed up. It's going down. You bet your bottom dollar it is. But I felt so bad for these people. Robert Conti, the former DC police chief. At the end of the day, after the trauma, and he said it, he said these officers, mostly it is MPD. And MPD, you gotta understand how it works here in DC. They don't have jurisdiction in a lot of places, MPD, the police department. It's not like New York or Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or Los Angeles. The federal law enforcement In fact, MPD needed permission to go help at the Capitol. But it was MPD who held the line for the most part, as much as they could. It was MPD calling for backup. This was a federal situation. But who was the leader? Who was in charge? Donald J. Trump was in charge. The National Guard was what is it, 6 minutes away, 12 minutes away, whatever they said. But they stood by until it was over. Then they came in. Then that creep, who on July 11th, if there's any justice, will go to prison when he's sentenced. I mean, we watched almost in real time, and they were talking about, as Greer points out, optics, what it might look like. Well, my goodness, how about optics, the way it looked around the world? The U.S. Capitol being attacked, and our photographer homeboy, I keep forgetting his name, I don't know why. I done said his name a couple of times. This courageous, great photojournalist, Mel D. And he's from New York, by the way. And they show him with his son. Amazing. But optics. And as he pointed out, he said, and he's from New York, he said, I've never seen the Confederate flag in person. He said, but I never thought I'd see it at the U.S. Capitol. You guys, The Sixth is a film that, although it should piss you off, you should see it. You should see it. Go to whatever platform you have on, whatever streaming service you have. I think it's $5. Apple TV, Prime. See this film. The scene in the setting that we saw it last night was absolutely riveting. You can see Google it, but it was absolutely, it took all of the, and I hate to say this, and I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. It took all the Christian being out of me. I just felt like it incited you, and it just incited me. I was so pissed off over something that happened in 2021. And yes, we talk about Erica Lowe. Erica Lowe takes care of a mother with Alzheimer's. And watching her cry about that, saying that she did not know if she was going to be able to who was going to take care of her mother. She was her mother's only caretaker. And dramatically, and you see this on the film. Like I said, they barricaded her, and Congressman Clyburn's staff is barricaded in his office. And that the climax of them bursting into that office, and as Erica said, they burst in with these big guns and everything. They thought they were dead, but it turns out those who burst into that office at the end was the police. They all had their hands up. There was a pregnant black woman, and Grizz giving me notes right now too, because there was so much. And people banging on the door constantly. And you remember that black police officer who directed those insurrectionists, those white supremacists, away from the lawmakers? They show footages of that. Power 96 says, it's funny to me that some people will like to forget January 6th, but those same people try daily to keep the Confederacy alive. Mike V says, Michael Cohen served 13 months. I don't see how Trump wouldn't be sentenced to something similar. But this was the footage was so graphic. It really was. It was graphic in that it was just it really took you inside what really happened. It showed you, I should say, what really happened. Yes, graphic but necessary. And to see again, Representative Jamie Raskin just lost his son. His son had committed suicide the day before. Mental health is a real thing. Mental health challenges are real. And I can't see. We know Erica Lowe because we do a lot of work at the White House. We do a lot of work covering the White House. We don't know her in a personal, intimate setting or anything like that. The photographer, Chief Conti, Jamie Raskin, we don't know them. I don't know them in a personal, intimate way. But I can't imagine all of those officers and all of those people. I can't imagine that even today and forever they will suffer with some sort of PTSD. Yeah, and Greer says, I'm grateful that Black people was represented in this film, saying the things all Black people said when we watched it go down. It really was. I mean, the stuff that was being said in real time, it was just so riveting. And again, I just can't. You guys just can't understand when we see Ice Cube and Sexy Red and Fat Joe and Stephen A. Smith. At least Charlemagne had the sense to back off his support of that MAGA stuff. But when we see that, it just boggles the mind. And then you hear, the brother said that he was concerned that the NPD would walk past all these races and come for him because he was Black. Isn't that something? Imagine that. With all that, with all of that. But I can't imagine. And like we started to mention, we mentioned a little bit Erica Lowe taking care of her mom, worried about who's now. They are all preparing to die. And die a really horrible death. But on her mind, who's going to take care of my mom? Jamie Raskin, his daughters in the Capitol, worried about, are they safe? They're texting. Erica watched. And again, I keep mentioning Erica because she was our point of entry into this whole thing. She was a point of entry for the movie, really. But she watched as they left. What is that? The ellipse with the Trump rally. Yeah, there was this one crazy white woman said she came there to die. Everything was. This was it. They had to take back their country, and they was willing to die. Take back their country, meaning that they needed to have Trump in office. And Erica watched out the window, and they documented this so well. There's no retakes. This was actually happening. And she saw that crowd moving toward the Capitol. And as she said, people protest all the time. As they get closer and closer, and the numbers swell, she says, the Capitol Police can handle this. Then the numbers swelled more, and the crowd pushed more. And she realized this was not an ordinary protest. This was something much more serious, much more. And then the alarm went off in the Capitol. And I remember just thinking, as that photographer from New York, as he said, saying, wow, the Confederate flag, it had never flown in the Capitol ever before. Yeah, this picture here, Mel, the photographer, one of the early comments, he said, the heck this, and he didn't say heck, the heck this guy doing here? And it's like what we talk about today with these black rappers and black dudes supporting that whole Make America Great Again. When it doesn't take more than the first grader to understand from the beginning what that really stood for, Make America Great Again. And now they're out in the open. They're more than ever before, they're out in the open. They're letting you know. Once again, we've said it many times on this program. We'll say it again. If you haven't done it, take a look at Project 2025. That's what's in store. If that's part of what's in store. That's bad enough if Trump gets into office. And speaking of Trump, a big report came out yesterday that he may have committed witness tampering during his trial in New York. He still lost, still got convicted, but an in-depth expose by the award-winning news site ProPublica showed that this guy was paying people to come testify for him, giving them jobs, those who had jobs, giving them significant, quote, significant financial benefits, pay raises, huge severance packages, and prestigious positions within his campaigns. And this is a crime, whether or not he was found guilty or not. If true, this is another, and these are felonies. Witness tampering is another felony. So that was what he was up to, apparently, according to ProPublica, during the trial, trying to buy people's testimony. Just to get to a couple of other things, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee has fought tirelessly for groundbreaking legislation throughout her career. She authored the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, creating the first new federal holiday in nearly 4 decades. And she has fervently championed the Violence Against Women Act. She ensured its passage for the first time in a decade. Of course, she champions reparations with H.R. 40. But now, for the first time, she's got to think about herself. The Texas representative is facing the battle of her life. She announced that she has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Sheila Jackson Lee is 74 years old, and she says, my doctors have confirmed pancreatic cancer, and I am currently undergoing treatment. She says, I am confident that my doctors have developed the best possible plan to target my specific disease. The road ahead will not be easy, but I stand in faith that God will strengthen me. She has represented Texas 18th District in the U.S. House of Representatives since 1995. She's in her 15th term. We certainly a friend of the Black press. There are not many, and I'm talking about all of them, including the Congressional Black Caucus. There are not many that are true friends of the Black press like Sheila Jackson Lee. She's one of them. There's a few, and she is one of them. India Arie says she is taking a hiatus from the music industry after posting an open letter detailing many things, including how she's not been paid properly and how she needs to care for her mental health. And it was a deeply personal open letter that the 4-time Grammy Award winner penned on social media. She said that her decision to step back from touring and music comes as she needs to heal and take care of her mental health. She says, I've sat quietly all these years because the things that inspired me had disappeared, and I've been healing from great disillusionment. She did accept some shows recently, a couple of shows recently, and she goes on to say about that, now everything in me is screaming no. She says, my nervous system is a wreck. She says, these years have taken a true toll on her. And she says, I sacrificed my health, enduring deaths, root canals, and lack of management support just to secure higher pay for my performances. I was underpaid for years, she says. She says, now that I see the world all different since 2020, as we all do, I'm having a hard time being inspired to take on the absolute heavy lifting it takes to go on the road with 19 people. She says, I need healing too. And she says, I'm sorry to anyone who is disappointed. That means you love me and I love you back. And then she concludes by saying, I hope to meet you in a more authentic space with all the new songs I have at some point here soon. It's some real stuff. Some that mental health, you know, it's so good that Black folks are talking about mental health. And we forever have ignored it. And it's always been a stigma. But to see folks talk about it, Arie being one of them now. You know, Taraji P. Henson talks about it all the time. But to see that, and again, we talked earlier about Black women. Once again, who's leading this? So we, and one of the things that not lost in that as well, Arie was very candid. He says she needs money, but she says, since when doing something for money is ever fun or works out or brings you joy? So we wish the best to this immensely talented singer, songwriter, entertainer, Arie. I always like to say Arie. And we talked again earlier about Meg Thee Stallion and Eminem and that situation. She continued her sold-out tour in Atlanta over the weekend. Good for her. I just want to raise up what Panama Jackson wrote in the Griot. And this is what he said. And I read his column. It was so on point, especially this part. He says, Eminem decided to hedge that bet with a wildly unnecessary bar about Megan Thee Stallion being shot in the foot. He raps, if I was to ask for Megan Thee Stallion if she would collab with me, would I really have a shot at her feet? Of course, feet being an homonym for literal feet. Panama goes on to say, to call that lazy and beneath even Eminem would be an understatement. He says, Eminem is a rapper who had bars that were worthy of studying. This was a low-hanging fruit bar for the sake of doing this on his huge comeback single to illustrate that he'll say anything he feels like, and it falls flat. It's just dumb. And he goes on to say, and a white boy that the culture has given a pass to because of his cosigns and talent isn't likely to get the same ho-hum response as he once might have, especially considering that Megan really has been through quite the ordeal in which she was actually shot. Panama goes on to say, why Eminem would waste a punctuating bar on this is as nonsensical as Drake doing it. He says, I would wager the bar doesn't hurt Meg's feelings or change her life, but if I were her, I'd be like, just why? Maybe Eminem, he says, is searching for an enemy in Black women, like they all are, to give him something to rap about. He wouldn't be the first white man to disrespect Black women just because he could. It's just an odd choice, Panama says. But then again, I don't really expect legions of black male rappers to question Eminem, so she'll just have to take it and move on. Even LeBron James chimed in and shouted out Eminem for the song. And Mike V, I'm glad you said what you said, because this is part of the conversation that I had with, like I said, a colleague yesterday. Mike V says, I don't remember the Beastie Boys dissing folk to get on stage, to get on. %. I couldn't believe that she was defending this. I couldn't wrap my head around it. You know, I mean, there are certain, LeBron James is an example, certain black dudes black men that will defend it. But I did not expect a black woman who has been on this program, talked about trauma of her own. And like I said, from Houston, Meg Thee Stallion is from Houston. I thought the Houston girls, they were down for the cause with each other. I mean, everybody's entitled, and I'm not in any way disparaging my colleague. I was just surprised at her take. Very surprised at her take. And then to say that, to start the whataboutisms, there's no whataboutism here. The fact of the matter is that, hip hop has allowed this dude a license to do whatever. Mike V says Bun B came out and defended Megan. That's great to hear. But to allow this guy, this is your thing. This is, we don't have much to call our own. And y'all ready to hand the keys over to this white guy. And I kept saying, as you might be able to see in our exchange there, that I'm surprised that this is your take. And I posted Panama's article. She says, Eminem is a quirky rapper. This is what, as y'all see, who we talking about, totally Randy. She goes, sigh, he wasn't dissing Meg. He is not searching for an enemy in black women. What a wild take. No, that take was 100% spot on. 100% spot on. We can't, I'm gonna say it like it is. Had it been a Jewish entertainer, the ADL and everybody else would have come down with the quickness. And that's how we should be. That's exactly how we should be, with the quickness. Put an end to that. You let Jerry Seinfeld get shot in the foot and Martin Lawrence go on stage and Jerry goes through the trauma Megan went through. And Martin Lawrence comes and makes fun of it, make light of it. Boy, oh boy, Martin would be hard pressed going forward. There'd be all types of statements and everything condemning it, as it should. You would not see legions of Jewish comedians sticking up for Martin Lawrence. Yeah, and the whole Tina Marie thing. Tina Marie never, right, Greer, she never crossed the line. She respected the culture that she was a part of. She embraced it. She respected it. This was as classless. And truth be told, closeted racism. And y'all all right. Y'all all right with it. Power 96 says, tell Eminem to make a rap about Ashley Babbitt, the white woman that was shot and killed on January 6th, or make a rap about Jews being killed on October 7th. He ain't doing that. They know, again, as Panama says, low-hanging fruit. And unfortunately, this is how Black folks in power position themselves. Maybe they don't realize it, but this is how they position themselves, as low-hanging fruit. Black men do better. Do better. And it's no wonder who introduced Eminem to all of this. There's no wonder. No, I'm not saying he's a racist, but it was a racist move. It felt racist. Felt a little on the tinge of racism there. I mean, he's got a couple of Black friends, we know. But what do we really know? Where he been? Where he been? Has he been up in the mountains with the MAGA people? And now, because he ain't been around in a minute. Is this his foray? Is the next thing we're gonna know he's gonna start carrying the red hat, wearing the red hat? Hey, who sent you? Who sent you? I mean, come on. Yeah. Oh, this stuff. It was one of those mornings. It's one of those nights. Yeah, right. And remember Kid Rock? He was out there. He was on stage years ago, back there with Run DMC. They bringing him up. Russell and all of them. Oh, this guy, Kid Rock. Now what? Kid Rock can go kick rocks, right? Straight up racist. Straight up racist. So don't tell me, y'all, Eminem is down for the culture. Eminem is for Eminem. And like I said, where you been, Eminem? It's been years. Nobody heard from you. They were talking about his daughter recently. Eminem up in the mountains in Michigan with Chief MAGA, maybe. Watch. Watch your back, y'all. Watch your back. Watch your back. I'm telling y'all, they say stay woke. This is the Black press, y'all. Y'all better. I mean, come on. Too much. Like, share, subscribe to our Let It Be Known YouTube page. Thanks for watching today. It's just too much sometimes. Too much. It's too much sometimes. But see that film, The Sixth. See it. Take a few minutes out your entertainment schedule. Rent it. Like I said, somebody said it's like $5 and see it. And let us know what your thoughts are when you see it. Just put it in the chat and we will read it. Thanks for watching. Let It Be Known. We'll see you tomorrow.